Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Where are we? There we go, Monica. Good morning, beautiful. What a treat to see you during the day. Good morning. Hi, Ricky. Hi, Janelle. Who else have we got in here? Liz, good morning. So I have Gia is in here. If anyone has any questions regarding tech stuff, please don't hesitate to let Gia know. Otherwise, we will, I think, we're streaming into the Facebook group. Gia, is that all sorted? It looks like it is. It looks like it is. All right. So, good morning, Janet. It is lovely to see you. Good morning. Good morning. So, my encouragement to those where it is possible, I understand people are in different locations and doing different things. If it is possible to have your camera on, please do. This is about connection, and the more I can see you, the better our connection will obviously be. So I wanted to start with just a little insight for those of you and a recap on how the Reconnection revolution has come about, why I have decided to do this. And, you know, I feel like we are right at the infancy of something that is going to become really big. It is my feeling that this is, hi, Ricky, it's lovely to see you. It is my feeling that this really is one of the most important conversations we can be having right now, right across the planet, but mostly here in the Western world. We are becoming more and more disconnected. And the impacts on our health, the health of our communities, our children, the health of all living things on this beautiful planet, and of course, the health of our planet is sadly getting sicker and sadder. And so what we need to do is start with ourselves. And from there, the ripple effect, I believe, we really can turn things around. And there is enormous wisdom in looking back at tradition, looking at what has worked in times gone by, because what we've done in our desperate drive for innovation, for things that are new, is let go of what was working, what was the foundation that created a healthy, happy life, and piled all the new on top and become so overwhelmed with the enormity of choice that we have in the drive for bigger and better and flasher and newer. We have let go of what is actually the foundation for the healthy, happy life we're all craving. So through this conversation, I want to reconnect us with those things. And it's not about dismissing the extraordinary gift that so many new things bring to our lives, but it's about looking at the things that we're striving to have that are not actually supporting us to live the lives that we're craving to have. So the first series, this series, is all about reconnecting to ourselves as we come into the world. Hi, Victoria. As we come into the world, we start to collect all this messaging about what a successful life is, of who we should be, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. And we get shaped through our environment. We are all a product of our environment. We are all a product of the messaging that we receive, be that through parents, be that through teachers, be that through coaches, be that through, you know, as we move into the adult world, bosses, our peers. There's just this accumulation of messaging that we continue to strive to fit in, to be right, to not make mistakes, to not get anything wrong, to not look stupid, to not look like we don't know something. And in this constant morphing of who we are, we can lose ourselves. And as somebody who has raised 4 children, 3 of whom have left home, I've still got 1 left at home, I see this firsthand, this desperate desire to fit in. And, you know, my children stopped taking food to school because their food was homemade and it didn't look like everybody else's food that came in packaging. These are the simple things that pull us off course. There are a few core things that I'm going to give you as we move through this. And one of the things is you bring your belonging with you. Belonging doesn't come from somebody else telling you that you belong. You decide. And you don't want to belong in every scenario, but you want to show up understanding that you are worthy of love and belonging. Nobody else decides if you are worthy. Only you can decide that. So as you come into this space, as you come into the Reconnection revolution, this community, you decide that you belong, because you do. Nobody else is going to give you that. That is your responsibility to make that decision. And it is one of the most empowering things that you can do for yourself in any situation. So that's first. The second thing is to understand how you do something is how you do everything. We have a tendency, and I feel that there is an element of still deciding how we want to connect in this virtual space. And the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of making a mistake, is the very thing that is robbing us of our humanity. It is robbing us of our desire to connect, of our desire to be in places, because we spend our lives with one foot out. I feel like there is this, to me, the visual that comes to my mind when we think about the online space is standing outside the front of somebody's house. The screen doors open and we kind of listen. We can see a little bit, but we're wondering whether we should show up, we should say anything. And that desire to connect, we keep one foot out. And so the connection is never really whole. We don't show up in our fullest, most authentic, highest expression of who we are, unapologetically. Because it is only with that energy that we allow ourselves to fully belong. This first series is all about supporting us to be the most authentic, highest expression of who we are. And this takes time. It's way beyond just making the decision that we want to. It takes time to start peeling back those layers of messaging. We truly have, in our desperate desire to take away the possibility of human error, we have taken away our humanity. You see it when you go to the doctor or a healthcare professional, and the humanity is taken out of it. I had my doctor said to me during COVID, we are no longer allowed to use our own discernment. We've become glorified drug pushers. And it is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. They are under so much pressure. And you look at this in any profession. You look at this with teachers. You look at this with counselors or any sort of therapy, where the greatest therapy is likely a hug. And we can't do that anymore. The fear of being sued, the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of judgment, the fear of not belonging. As anybody comes in, make sure that you're muted. Thank you. It is robbing us of our humanity. So we get to start with this first beautiful exercise of infusing our lives with love, being able to look in the mirror and say, I love you. There is a tendency to confuse this with vanity or with narcissism, but it's not about that. It's understanding that as humans, we are animals on this planet. We are living creatures on this planet, the same as the bees and the birds and the elephants and the giraffes and the ants. We are all living and we are all intricately connected through these threads of energy. The actions of one affects the lives of millions. I shared a post a few weeks ago about it dawning on me that I'd got lazy because the people that used to deliver my fruit and vegetables to my home in a box fresh from their farm went out of business over COVID. And I started buying organic vegetables from the supermarket, and they're all wrapped in plastic. And it became a mindless thing. It just became easy. There is so much in society that revolves around making life easier and easier and easier. But just because it's easier doesn't necessarily make it the best decision. And then I saw this beautiful David Attenborough documentary where the plastics that we're consuming are coating one of the most remote islands in the world, a breeding ground for birds. And the baby birds are picking up the plastic that we're discarding, mindlessly peeling off my zucchinis into the bin. It goes to the dump, it gets picked up by the wind, or however it is happening. And it's choking a bird 1,000,000 miles away from where I live. There are so many micro actions that we are taking all the time that is impacting this beautiful planet. And the magnificent step that we can take, the most powerful thing that we can do, is love ourselves with such reverence, to be connected to who we are in such a powerful way that we know our life has purpose. We know our life has purpose. We are here for a reason, and it is to support all life on earth through who we're being. We are all equal, just different. We are all equal, just different. It is one of the most profound things that you can take away. When you are in front of somebody that you feel in awe of, remember, you are equal, just different. We are taught to put people on pedestals, to give people a godlike status, whether it is the Beyoncés or the doctors or the Oprahs or the prime ministers and presidents, or because of a car that somebody drives, or the magnitude of the house that they live in, or we are taught that there are these extrinsic values, extrinsic things that make people more important, of more value, because of the money that they have in their bank account, or because of the size of the house they live in, or because of the qualification that they have to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or a president or a whatever it might be. We put people on pedestals. And when we bring back our humanity and see we are all equal, just different, it changes how we see ourselves in the world. It changes the energy in which we show up. It changes the unapologetic nature of how we go about our purpose on this planet. And our purpose lies first and foremost in who we are, not in what we do, not in the things that we're striving to have, but it is in who we are. Your purpose on this planet is to be the most authentic and the highest expression of who you were born to be. I encourage you to write that down. My purpose in this life is to be the most authentic and the highest expression of the woman I was born to be. And you get to trust who that is. The woman I was born to be takes with love and reverence the laundry of my children, to wash it with care, to hang it in the sun, to dry, to bring it in, to fold it, and to put it back in the rooms of my children so that they can dress themselves in a way that makes them feel proud to show up in the world. That is part of my purpose. My purpose is to approach my role here on earth with love, with connection, with reverence, with gratitude. Part of my role, my purpose on earth, is to use my voice to empower women to understand their purpose. Part of my purpose on earth is to wrap my husband in my arms and tell him how much I love him, because we all need love and connection. Part of my purpose on earth is to say good morning to the birds that I walk past, to maintain the connection that I have with all living things on earth. To smile at every human I walk past, to remember my humanity, to look through a filter of love, even when it's really hard, because sometimes it's really hard. So this is the essence of this first series of the Reconnection Revolution. It is about, and it is a revolution. We are living in a time when we are getting more and more and more disconnected from the things that really matter. We are disconnected from our role on this earth. We are disconnected from other people. We are disconnected from the woman we're born to be. We're disconnected from spirit, to the energy, to the divine creative force that is guiding us, each and every one of us. And so as we move forward, we are creating a revolution if we choose to do things differently. And in doing that, we become this grassroots movement, an unapologetic, powerful force of women who are going to choose to do things differently, to not simply go with the flow. Before I bring Kim on, our beautiful, amazing speaker for today, I want to give you this visual. As we move through life, it is very easy to just go with the flow. And I feel like it is one of the most damaging pieces of advice that we are given as children. Just go with it. And it overrides the internal voice that we have within us that is wiser than the one in our head. Just going with the flow. If we look at where the flow of humanity is going, it is not going in a good direction. So you can choose to just lie back on the lie low, hang on when the going gets tough, and hope you don't fall off. Just getting pulled along. And sometimes it's going to go slow and easy and the sun will be shining. And sometimes it gets rocky and there's clouds and there's storms. Sometimes you end up going over that waterfall. We've all been there. And a health diagnosis, or the loss of a job, or the death of a loved one, or there's something. You go over that waterfall and life feels a little out of control. You go under the water at the bottom and you come back up, and there's an opportunity there to get back on the lie low and just keep going with the flow. Keep watching the news, keep listening to all the things that we have to be afraid of, all the things that flood our lives with fear and rob us of the life force that wants nothing more than to be connected to a hopeful and secure future, that wants nothing more to shine and be an extraordinary example of what it is to be a human infused with love and purpose and connection. So rather than just being on that lie low, going with the flow, doing what the majority are doing, my invitation in the Reconnection Revolution is to get out of the stream and plant your feet firmly on Mother Earth and lock arms with other women who are determined to turn around this tide that is heading in the wrong direction. So now I would love to, Kim, are you there? I think you are. Hello, beautiful soul. Oh my gosh, you look gorgeous. I just want to make sure, Gia, that this is recording in speaker view. If you can just double check that. I might put mine in speaker view just to make sure. So for those of you that I'm fairly certain that everybody here certainly knows Kim Morrison. I'm just not sure, when I put myself, Gia, can you just double check from your side that when I speak, I'm showing up in speaker view? And so when Kim speaks, she's going to be showing up in speaker view. If you can perhaps just double check that and let me know in the comments, that would be super helpful. So, okay, Kim Morrison. I can't quite remember what year it was, but I think it may have been somewhere around I want to say 2017. I used to listen to these guys called the Wellness Guys, and they had the wellness couch, and there were these women that I had so much admiration for. Jo Whitton, Cindy O'Meara, Kim Morrison, Karen Smith. And my very dear friend said to me, should we go and watch these women speak? It would be amazing to watch these women speak. And so we bought a ticket and we headed off to Melbourne to the convention centre, and we sat in the audience. And that was one of my first experiences of hearing the very divine Kim Morrison pour her heart out on stage, connecting everybody to the power of self-love. And she did this gorgeous body boost demonstration with her oils and how she does this. And so we went off and bought our body boost oils. And that was the beginning of my love relationship with Kim Morrison. And as we've gone on over the years, as I've done different shows, Kim has been a pivotal guest in most of my shows now, I think, and I now feel very blessed and honoured to call Kim one of my dear friends. So it is by no mistake that I have asked Kim to be our first speaker for the Reconnection Revolution, because her knowledge of how to infuse our lives with love from the inside out is absolutely extraordinary. So welcome, Kim, and thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, such a privilege, and thank you so much. And so yummy to see so many gorgeous faces in here that I recognize, but also to see you spreading your light. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this next half an hour, we are diving into Kim's wisdom on this subject. So where I want to start is just, I know most of the women in here will already know you, but I just really want to go back to understanding what it was that brought you to be doing this work. I know that as entrepreneurs, there's usually something that happens in our lives that inspires us to learn how to learn a new skill or learn how to do something in a bigger way. Then seeing the power of it, we want to share it with the world. So what was that for you, Kim?
I think it's a really interesting question. And I think depending on the day, my answer varies. But I think there's two key things. One was my mum, watching her bring up 3 children on her own. I was her right-hand person from a very young age. We left Dad when I was 9. I'd been through different court cases with abuse, and there'd been a whole lot of dishevelment in our life, and I watched my children. And when we left Dad, it was a relief to me because they did not get along. So I remember thinking,
my screen is freezing. Is Kim freezing?
gosh, if only they could be kind to one another.
It looks like it's freezing. I'm wondering what's going on with that. Yeah, am I frozen for everybody, or is it just Kim? Just Kim. Okay. So maybe if we give Kim a minute, we'll see if her connection comes back in. Okay, only Kim. I'll just see if I can. Oh, there we go. She's all right.
So sorry, I'm not sure what happened, sweetheart.
That's okay. That's fine. You're back. You're back. You're
I've just
back.
had the NBN put on too, so I don't know what's going on here, but
Oh,
hopefully it's all good. I don't know what I got
oh,
up to because I'm quite lost.
that's
What did
okay.
we get up to?
So you were talking about after your parents separated.
Mm. And my beautiful Nana passed away the same year.
Right.
And that Nana, who had a very gentle presence, she was only 49 years of age and she had a real love of plants. And I remember just thinking, I wish I could be more like her.
Yeah.
And then as I grew and sport obviously took control and learning about women and understanding what it means to be an elite athlete, I then ventured off after 6 months in law at law school, decided that no, travel was way more appealing. And I ended up in Melbourne. There's no accidents. And there's another whole story in behind that. But the real point of it is I was working in a gymnasium and looking to apply for naturopathy or some sort of field that I could study. I was 19. And next door, again, no accidents, there was a natural therapies college that advertised an aromatherapy course. And I had $180 in my bank account and the course was 160 and I enrolled in it. And I just remember thinking this was the beginning of the rest of my life. I then got to meet two women in Melbourne who I remember sitting in the audience just totally enthralled with their love of oils, of nature, of self-care, of beautiful skin, of energy, vitality, and this fierceness again, this incredible fierceness that women can hold with a loving intent. And I wanted what they had. So I stalked them and then went to all of their courses and all of their things. And I graduated on Valentine's Day in 1991 with my holistic aromatherapy and clinical work, kinesiology, reflexology. And really what it did for me, as I'm sure many of you will agree, is that you open a can of worms and realize the more you learn, the more you don't know. And so, yeah, it's just melded together. And even though public speaking was never in the forefront, I kept getting challenged and the universe kept calling me and pulling me, and to the point where I just couldn't say no. And so I was trained by these women to become their international presenter, and I got to travel the world and talk about essential oils for many years. And I decided that what better thing to do to complement that was to bring out my own range and my own way of doing it with all the teachers and teachings that I'd had. So really that real love of nature, of connecting with other women, of actually looking within and noticing what I needed on a daily basis, and then realizing there was a guide way greater than me, that I actually thought I had control and thought I had all the knowledge. But in fact, the more I surrendered and the more I leaned into it, the more I was in flow with where I was meant to be. And so I have a belief that there is no accidents, that everything is happening for me, not to me. And that if I just learn to lean into the challenges with an open heart, an open mind, realizing that every opportunity is a learning opportunity rather than it's not fair, how come? And I will be honest, Edwina, there is moments where I've laid on my bathroom floor saying those words, how come it's not fair? Why
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
And there's always a greater voice saying, why not me?
Yeah.
And so I guess my love of all of that has combined into creating my passion, my business, which took me 10 years to create, to find the right partners. But I've also learned that patience and perseverance is one of my greatest skills.
Yep. I have developed the practice of when I get in that spot of saying, why me? It's like, what would I say to somebody I loved? What would I say to somebody I loved? Because it's that reminder that we're so much kinder usually to everybody but ourselves. That helps get that conversation back on track. So how do we I feel like Kim's just frozen again. Oh, bother. Don't you love it? The reconnection revolution. And then we get into disconnection on that's right. You're back. Are you
I
back?
don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's me or not. I've
That's
been doing
okay.
great with recordings, so I'm not sure,
All right.
sweetie.
Well, I mean, the universe is saying, well, let's just challenge this reconnection. Let's just see how serious they are.
I think it's so funny that it's the
I
reconnection
know.
revolution.
I know. So let's look at what is the biggest stumbling block. I hear, this self-love is a conversation that's not new anymore. We're all familiar with it. So what's the greatest stumbling block? What is it that really is the disconnect between wanting to embrace this, to feel this, and it actually happening?
I think we have to remember we were all born perfect. We were all born without any judgment. We were all born without any perceived perceptions of what the world is. But what we have to remember is from the age of 0 to 7 is the imprinting time. And so however we were brought up, whoever was our caregiver, whatever was available to us is actually what started coding us into thinking that was our reality.
Yeah.
So if you grew up with parents saying, you're amazing, you're incredible, you're the best thing, the world is your platform, you've got it all happening, you would have believed that. And if you grew up with a parent who was knocking you, calling you a waste of space, perhaps they weren't the best parents, you could easily grow up believing that. But as we all know, none of it is true. It is only our perception of what we thought was true. And even every experience we have is only an experience based on who we are in that moment to understand what the perception of that reality is. So nothing is actually real. Yeah. Which means we always have an opportunity to connect back into what is real to us at any time. We have to also remember as adults, as grown women, we try and decipher and work out the patterning or who we are with an adult head, but perhaps sometimes still looking through the eyes of a traumatized child. And so it's very hard sometimes to put that emotional intelligence in place, which is why doing programs like this, reading, expanding your consciousness, doing work on yourself, having therapy, having a curious mindset to really question your perception of reality is one of the greatest gifts you could ever bestow on yourself. So the stumbling block, it's not the universe, it's not other people, it's not nature. It's you. And if we could only just realize that no one is doing anything to us, we as adults have the opportunity to pull up our big girl's pants and choose to investigate the traumas, the challenges, the things that have maybe set us down a path to have a decision that I'm not good enough or not pretty enough or tall enough, to actually work out when we decided that and realize it was just a limiting decision. It's not a truth. Or perhaps we grew up in a very religious upbringing and yet it didn't sit with us. So at what point do we tap into believing what we want to believe? And so times like this, what you've created, how you've given everyone in here and watching the replay an opportunity to question all that we think is true, all that we think is real, and realize that nothing actually is. We are our biggest stumbling block, but we are also our greatest love, our greatest teacher, and our greatest compass point, our North Star.
Yep. I hear the word in it was in Eat, Pray, Love in the movie, and he says, you don't need a man, you need a champion. And I just loved that line. But I think we get to be our own greatest champion. Yes, we need to surround ourselves with people that will champion us as well. But if we don't learn to be our own greatest champion, then that's where we're going to fall off. So I want this conversation, and as people are writing down notes, it's like, I am my greatest champion. I will be my greatest champion. Because when you hear these words, they have so much power. They have so much power. So this is these beliefs that we have in our head that keep pulling us off course. Kim, I know one of the tools in your very full toolbox is hypnotherapy. I would love to hear more about that and the role it plays. I think there's a lot of trepidation for many people when they hear hypnotherapy, the possibility of a loss of control. So how do you use it and what do you use it for?
I think we have to remember that most people on the planet think that life is 90% what I'm thinking, how I'm creating it, and 10% maybe there's a little bit of woohoo or unconscious kind of stuff. It's actually the other way around. 10% of what we present ourselves to the world is based on 90% of our unconscious mind, our unconscious behavior, our beliefs, our decisions, our emotions. They drive the behavior. And so if we could just appreciate that we are already hypnotized. Some of us are hypnotized into believing we're not good enough. Some of us are hypnotized into believing the world sucks. Some of us are hypnotized into believing there is no connection. Whereas the reality is, as a hypnotherapist, my job is to unhypnotize you, to take you out of the trance you've put yourself into and actually give you the unconditional ability to look at life in a whole new way. So we rewire, reprogram, reconstitute what our beliefs, our emotions, and our decisions have been. Because as I keep saying, nothing is true. It's just a perception of what we believe to be true. So if some people will come to me and say, oh, I just can't lose weight. I'm no good at sticking to something. Well, there's a number of things in there. It's a great story you're telling yourself. Who you're being is saying that because your mum had fat genes or your father had heavy bones. And so we create this story and we believe that to be true. Yet the reality is that's just an unconscious belief. What if all the dedication and commitment it took for you to eat all those foods that put on the weight, to not be consistent with your exercise, is actually a form of discipline? What if we could turn that around? What if we could reframe it and use the power it took you to put on all of that weight to use the same mindset, but with a way more holistic, powerful viewpoint, knowing it took discipline to get fat? How can we use that same strategy, that same tool, but in a way more holistic, powerful way? So it's more about what I want more of in my life rather than less of. And so when we look at hypnotherapy, it is really unwiring those preconditioned beliefs or decisions or emotions that you have, and then creating more powerful, wired neurons in the brain that will override them. So it's not to say that you'll ever get rid of, I'm a fat fart, if that's the wording that you use. There's a wiring that's in there that believed that or has a thought that it believes that. But when we use hypnotherapy, we create a stronger neural connection that is, I am vibrant, I am disciplined, I am strong, I am healthy. That is what we are looking for, is how we can turn or reframe the limiting belief or emotion into a more powerful, built-up muscle that whenever you do feel like you're not good enough, because let's face it, we all have these moments. I'm not suggesting hypnotherapy stops you from any of those thoughts, but you instantly pick yourself up and we can create new neurological
We'll give it just a minute. Hopefully Kim will come back on. I can see
anchors, whether it's smell, whether it's pink. It's here. Can you hear me now?
Oh,
you got me?
Yes, there we are. I think so. Yeah.
Gosh, I've never had this happen. This is so funny. This is so funny. Yes. So it's about can you hear me now?
It's breaking up quite a lot, Kim. It's breaking up. Oh, there we go. I think. Ooh. Are we back? Maybe. We'll give it another second. Hopefully it'll kick back in. We had a good moment. Oh, poor Kim. It's so frustrating when this.
Do you want me to back in?
Oh. We'll give it just another minute. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we can try without video, possibly. I don't know if Kim can. Oh, there, she's gone off. She's gone off. All right, I'm sure she'll pop back in a second. All right, so let me think. Where was Kim? Was creating, I got distracted, creating new neural pathways and changing those belief systems. There we are. I think we're back. I think we're back, darling. No fuss. It's fine.
So funny. So funny. So yes, I think I was talking about the neural pathways.
Yeah.
It's about creating stronger muscles, stronger reminders, stronger overriding beliefs that serve you rather than diminish you or take you out, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we have to remember connection to self is actually a continual work in progress.
Yeah.
We have always got lessons in life. Our closest friends and family can be our greatest teachers. So you might leave today going, yeah, I've got this, I'm really on. And then someone cuts you off in traffic, or your mother pushes your buttons, or your best friend or your partner says or does something. So we've constantly got to adjust our sails and work with what we've got and be curious and open to always be willing to change or be open to change.
Yep. And it is that, the training of the brain to come up with a quick reset. It's like, who do I want to be in this moment? Who do I want to be for this person? Who do I want to be in this moment? Who do I want to be for this person? And I can do that when I have to go and see Archie's teacher at school because I've had another phone call. Or with my mom, or, like whoever it is. And it is such a great reset. And the more we do this, the more it is that proactive choice in who we're being in the world. And that's, the feeling of that really does completely transform. Well, it has transformed the woman that I am today compared to who I was 10, 15 years ago. And it seems I feel like we strive to find the hard thing. It is that desire that something, if it's got to change, it's got to be complicated. But really, it's these little simple practices that make the world of difference. So we've talked a little bit about the brain and the wiring and changing the conversation and the beliefs, which takes time and practice and being connected to the right people to support that. How do we then bring the self-love practice on the outside? Kim, what are some of your favorite tools?
Well, I think you talk about it so beautifully, and they're so simple. It doesn't have to cost a lot of time or money. And those that have followed me have heard me say this so many times, but it's our connection to nature. It's our connection to one another. It's our absolute desire and love to actually connect in with us on a daily, if not hourly, if not moment by moment basis. So things like oils, our essential oils, which to me is a beautiful connection to Mother Earth, but the oils become the conduit. Or, many of us, particularly in the brain work, will look at a neuron and a neuron together. And then in order for that neuron to give that message to that neuron, there's what we call the synaptic gap. And there has to be an electrical impulse in order to go across that synaptic gap to really ignite the next neuron. And so I look at the oils as the synaptic gap, because sometimes it's very hard to go from being self-loathing to self-loving. There's often some little steps we have to do in the process to get to that level. And oils become the conduit. Nature becomes the conduit. Noticing the little things that are beautiful, paying it forward with a smile, honoring other beautiful women by sending a text or a message, making sure that you have a beautiful sense of joy and love for other people's success, because your turn will come and you would love that for you. And we all go through life in these ebbs and flows. Life is never just static. And if it is or was or could be, it'll be very dull and boring.
Yeah.
So to really embrace the tapestry of life, one needs to honor that there are ups and downs. My mission and my wish is that in the downs, we have tools and resources like this program, understanding things like hypnotherapy, perception, beliefs, understanding the way we've been programmed, using tools like oils or nature or movement to actually connect us back into is fundamental in constantly growing and evolving. And I think if you could really appreciate, it's not a lot of time and money. It's just a constant awareness. Self-awareness is probably one of the greatest gifts you could give yourself. So if you're thirsty, you probably left it too late before you had a drink of water, but listen to the body. It's talking to you. If you've got a headache, I wonder what that is. It's not, let's pop a Nurofen. It's, oh my gosh, have I neglected myself to have this? How is my sleep? How is my self-worth? Where am I at with stress? All of the world is constantly giving you feedback. But if we could just realize, I love that presupposition, there is no failure, only feedback. And so the world is constantly giving you feedback. I also love it when someone irritates you or challenges you or triggers you, there is a learning in that for you. And I wonder what this is teaching me. That's probably one of my greatest snap out of the moment questions I ask myself when I'm triggered or not feeling great or wondering what if or how come or why me. It's, I wonder what I can learn from this. And then I literally put on my rose-tinted glasses and try to see the world with a lens of love. And it helps me. Breath and gratitude are two of the greatest, most powerful ways to step into and stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Because when we're calm, we make better decisions. When we're calm, we don't react, we act. And I think all these little tools and techniques that you'll learn throughout the revolution are going to be some of the most profound and yet simple things. Because here's the beautiful thing, Edwina and everybody. You already have all the answers within you. You already know at a deep, deep universal soul source space, you have all the answers. You've just been hypnotized into believing you don't. And if you could just believe and trust in me and Edwina on this ride, you will see what I mean. Because often when you process something, you'll say the answer as it's coming out. And maybe one of the last things I can say on that is if we could all become better listeners and just allow someone to process their thoughts, they often come to the answer themselves. And that includes what goes on between our ears. When you're talking to yourself, that's your conscious mind talking to you. The part of you that's listening is the unconscious mind. And when the unconscious mind wakes up, it will reframe it and give you an answer that was already within you. It's just that you learn to tap into that unconscious part of you that already has your back. If only you could hold her hand. If only you knew she's desperate for you to get in there and to listen and to work with her and to lean into the pains and then ride through and come out blazing guns and feel on fire again. That is the connection.
Yeah. If we think about that, each of us as that precious new baby that comes into the world, we need food and we need love. And it is, that love is absolutely, there's no question of worthiness or deserving or what do I need to do to earn this. It is just simply by being us. And I feel like we have gone on this, if we look at the connection and the disconnection and the hypnosis, when you walk around and you see everybody with their heads in their phones. I had a conversation with my 21-year-old daughter yesterday, and she and her sister were talking, and they were like, we don't know how we're going to raise children in this world, Mum. This is the conversation that 20 and 21-year-old kids are having. They are worried about having children, and it's not just my children. It is this world where people are more and more and more disconnected and obviously making choices that don't serve us. There is so much judgment and division and fear that it is obvious. It's obvious to us and it's obvious to our kids, and it's not going to change if we wait for government bodies or, the pharmaceutical companies or the agricultural industries or all these big governing bodies that are controlling and hypnotizing us through the content that we are constantly bombarded with. It has got to be a grassroots movement. It has got to come from us. It has got to come from us looking at life with this reverence and love and understanding that it is in the simple things, the things that actually cost nothing, that we will reconnect and transform life. They can't patent the foods that we eat until they genetically modify it. So let's not have the genetically modified foods. They can't patent love, so nobody's going to teach it or say that, teach it to our children as the most important fundamental thing, to teach them to learn how to love themselves. We have to do that. We get to do that. And it starts with learning to love ourselves first.
And maybe if we looked at the world just is. The world is, and we could look at it with a lens of massive, like you say, fear and disconnect and not great and all of that. Or we could look at it and go, we're in a really challenging space right now, hearing my daughters talk like this. Who can I be? How can I show up? Because in all honesty, my belief, and this is just a belief, it's not a truth, my belief is that good will always prevail. It will always override evil. So no matter what intentions or agendas or greed or all of those human parts of us that have been around forever, nothing's different in this world right now. There's always been war. There's the aristocratic, the democratic, the poor, the wealthy, the middle, the people that are going to hurt, the people that are going to rise. Like, we're just in another revolutionary time right now, where my belief is, and why I love what Edwina is doing here, is there is no accident. You're watching this or listening to this. You are being called. You have been chosen. You cannot unhear these conversations. You have been chosen to be the example, to put on your ferociousness and see the world. Be the example, not the evangelist. Be the example. Show people what's possible. Most people would not know what my challenges are when I'm on camera. Most people would not know what I've done or what hell it's taken or what perhaps I've been through that day or week. Not because I don't want to share it, but because I'll share it with certain people who actually give me the holding hand, but also the butt kick, or you can have a pity party, but now what? And so what is the point of me sharing with you doom and gloom when I see nothing but beauty and grace and reverence and love and care with a few little blips out there? Yep. So what if we could reframe it and see the world as fully connected? Because to be disconnected, we had to be connected in the first place. So it is actually there. There is no such word as disconnect until we realize the connection is there. So when we can connect into the disconnection, we then have an opportunity, a platform to step into, lean into what it means to be a connective creature on this planet. How do I how do I connect with others? Well, the most important thing, as Edwina just alluded to, is to connect in here first and foremost. And even connecting in can sometimes mean disconnecting, because sometimes it's good to just surrender. But even that's a form of connection. So I'm not sure if we ever disconnect. I think to live and breathe on this planet, we are connected. It's just, where do you want to put your intention, your vibration, and what things do you want to connect to could perhaps be the bigger question.
Yeah. And maybe it's not so much even the connection in that it is the focus on the direction that you want to be taking. Because I think with so much choice and with so many different options, and we can be listening to this live and that podcast and doing this course, and then we're doing the laundry, and then we're feeding the family, and then there is so much. And so feeling like you can make a choice and trust yourself to be super focused. What is it that is going to get me into the life? What is it that supports me to live the life I want to be living today? What is it? It's that fabulous, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. What makes you feel alive? And I don't believe any of us feel the most alive when we're watching Netflix or looking at our phones, or we feel alive when we're in front of a friend. I took a girlfriend out for her 50th birthday, just the two of us, for dinner on Thursday night. And it's like we just come alive. It's like this energy of connection. We come alive when we plant our feet on the earth. And so at the moment it's freezing here in Victoria, and my feet are like, the nerves are all alive, and then there's stepping in the ocean, or hugging a tree, or looking at the birds. We come alive when we connect with nature. We come alive when we can practice a ritual of love for ourselves, when we get dressed in the morning, when we do our hair with a sense of like, I want to feel beautiful. It's that reverence for self. We come alive when we understand our connection with that higher source, whatever that higher source is for you. And I love talking about rituals. I think if we can perhaps wrap up this particular conversation with some of your favorite rituals, Kim, because I think that is, well, I know for myself, that is how I connect most deeply with my children, with my husband, with myself, with my girlfriends. We have these rituals. So what are some of your favorite rituals, Kim?
I think one of mine at the moment, I mean, apart from the body boost, which is a 2-minute ritual every morning where I massage my body from toes to head with 3 drops of essential oil and a teaspoon of oil, carrier oil, I give so much thanks and gratitude to this vehicle, this temple called a body. We only get one, and if only people could really appreciate how profoundly important and beautiful and wise and intelligent this incredible body is. And if we could tap into the wisdom of that body, which is why when I do my ritual every morning, I'm not thinking about my left fingernail growing. I'm not thinking about my hair follicles deciding when to grow another hair. I'm not thinking about my food digesting. That is such an innate intelligence of my body. But when I'm massaging myself in the morning, I'm giving thanks to that intelligence.
Yeah.
And in the same time, I'm tapping into it and asking for that same intelligence with a conscious thought. And then I love, grounding myself. Even every morning I go out and I water the plants, and I go out in bare feet and stand on the ground. And I'm very lucky. I'm surrounded by trees and water, and I get to give thanks, and I listen to the bird song. And because I saved a little fledgling a couple of weeks ago that was caught by my cat, I got to save her and put her up in a nest. And then I learnt through the bird watching lady that fledglings are on the ground for 3 to 7 days as their tail feathers grow. And I became the bird whisperer. I actually got really excited now that when I hear that sound, I know there's babies, and that just warms my heart. When you learn something, again, through a challenge, I got to learn about what it means to be around nature and birds that are nesting and fledglings being on the ground. It's not bad. It's actually normal. I also love my food. Food to me, if I'm going to put petrol in my car and make sure I've got good petrol in that, I want to make sure I've got even better fuel in this, because every single one of my 50 trillion cells need to be operating at their best. And that means looking at the sun in the morning as it rises so I can fire up the mitochondria in each one of those cells, and the mitochondria switches on all of the cells and actually helps me to express the genes that are at my greatest authentic self. It also helps to suppress the genes that may have perhaps heart disease in my family. Just by looking at the sun in the morning, I get to express the genes that are going to help me thrive and survive this world in the healthiest, most powerful way. And then, of course, I love to go to the gym or go for my walk, move my body. And I have a little mantra that I say when it's tough. This morning, I was doing a whole lot of leg squats and I was thinking of you all in my wall sit. And as I was sitting there, I was thinking, every breath I take, I'm connected to you, Father Sky. Every muscle twitch I feel, I'm connected to you, Mother Earth. And I am proud, privileged, and honored to do it on behalf of all of those who can't. And so I know that if you are watching this, you are able to do that. There are people dying in hospitals. There are people who have lost the use of their legs. There are people who are going through a health crisis right now. Be the light, be the example of showing gratitude for what you've got, because it's not until it gets taken away from us do we ever fully appreciate what we have. So perhaps don't let the universe teach you or tell you it's got to be taken away to be grateful for it. So I guess that other practice is gratitude. I'll try. I do my 4S ritual. I have an alarm on my phone that on the hour, every hour, it goes off and I have to do my 4S's. Stand, stretch, spritz. So I'll get my aroma mist out and I will spritz and then smile. And it's so silly and so ridiculous, really, probably, but it just reminds me of how important it is for me to stay connected to here whilst I work on my laptop or support people or coach or do whatever it is that I'm doing. They're just a handful of some of my daily rituals. Of course, I light my diffuser every day. I love to talk to my plants. My Nana always said, hug a tree. So if I can't hug it, I'll at least touch my plants. Lavender's in bloom at the moment. And I sat down this morning and watched all the bees in there doing their thing. And I was just like, wow, who says we're not connected? Who says the world's a bad place? I just want to feel like the revolution I can create within me is to stay connected to me, my truth, my fellow women, my family, my community, my environment, Mother Nature, and of course, the greatest of all, that source, that spirit.
So beautiful, Kim. When I walk every morning, and I'm always thinking about my 5 senses, and it is that sound and hearing the birds wake up and the community starting to wake up and the sights. And as I walk back home, I've got at the front wall of my garden along the street is all citrus, and I've got lemons and oranges, and I pick an orange and I smell it. And these are the things that don't cost anything. These are the things that just make me come alive. And then having essential oils in the house, and salt lamps, and having fire, lighting a candle. It's these elements of nature that we bring in that just can't help but make us come alive. Thank you so much, Kim. I know you have some beautiful gifts for our audience. But before I get you to tell everyone about that, I just wanted to take a moment to extend the invitation to those that haven't joined the 3 C's community to come in and join us, because it is in there that we are going to be putting the things that we're talking about into action. It is so incredibly important that we don't allow this just to be a temporary dopamine hit where we hear something, it feels good, we turn it off, and then there is no support to continue the work. Part of what we're going to do in the 3 C's community is absolutely talking about how we enliven our senses and come alive. I'm going to be taking everybody on a vision quest, and that is starting with the picture of the soul of the world, which I got from The Alchemist, which is the most beautiful, beautiful book. But the soul of the world holds your soul in the palm of her hand. And at some point, it's this, am I ready? Is it time? And she says yes. And she lowers you to the earth, to your parents that you've chosen, that are perfect for you. And that little light that is your soul gets breathed into the physical body that you now live in as a tiny baby. And then there is the journey to where you are now and we look at that whole vision of what's gotten you to where you are now, and then where you want to go from here. So that is part of being in the 3Cs community. Plus, there is so much more that you will get from that. Most of all, it is the connection with your fellow women, your fellow humans that are on the journey with you, and with the beautiful speakers like Kim that are part of this series. So if you haven't joined us, the invitation is open. The door is wide open. There's no fly screen that you get to look through. It's right wide open, and I hope you will come in and join us. So Kim, what is the gift that you have for our audience to support them with this work?
Well, I think, some of you may already have one or two of these, but definitely the first thing that I've put in there is the Manifesto for Living. It's 4 pages of beautiful quotes. I never tire of it. I've been using these quotes for I can't tell you how many years, but I laminate them. I've got them on my wall in my bathroom, and it's probably not for the days that I'm feeling fantastic, because those days it's easy to say something nice to myself at the end of my body boost ritual. Just even like, I'm a great mom, I'm an incredible coach, I'm an amazing entrepreneur. I can say all those things when I'm feeling good, but I do notice myself looking at them on the wall when I'm tired, or when I feel challenged, or when something's triggered, or when I'm really working on myself. So that 4-page manifesto, laminate it and put it on your wall, put it in your kids' bathroom so that they get used to seeing these beautiful affirmations. Then the next thing is a copy of Like Chocolate for Women, which was a book that I wrote many, many years ago, but there are so many recipes, tools, and techniques, and it's an ebook. So you can just look it up. You could Google it, you can search in there anger or feminine blend or something, and you'll get all of those beautiful oil blends in that book. And then the other thing is the 28-day gentle self-love challenge. So there's 28 days of gentle, not costing you rituals and routines so that you can connect into here, into your heart space, so that you can actually try it on, like keep building new muscles, new neurochemical pathways, new neural loops, because the more we fire those loops together, the more they wire together, and the more they wire together, the more ensconced they become. So even when you think about NSDR, which is non-sleep, deep relaxation techniques. So these can be things like meditation, breath work, gratitude work. You are increasing the neuroplasticity of the brain. You are creating new neural opportunities. And by focusing on these 28 days of self-care rituals that are very gentle, you now, with this knowledge, it won't just be like running a bath. You'll do it with intention, volition, purpose, self-fueling, refreshing, regenerating, honoring, revering, and really celebrating the incredible woman that you are.
So beautiful. Thank you, Kim. So if you will have access to that, if you have questions that come up, if you have things that you want to dive into further, Kim will be, there will be a space in the 3Cs community to ask questions for Kim. We will absolutely be doing a lot more work with gratitude. For anyone that's done gratitude practices with me before, you'll know how I do that. And that's something that we will be using to connect you to the most authentic and highest expression of the woman you are born to be. Thank you so much for being here with us. I was going to open the invitation for anyone that has questions. We've got about 5 minutes. If there are any questions that have come up, let me know. Perhaps if you pop anything, if there is anything, there's a reactions button down the bottom of Zoom. You'll see that you can raise a hand to ask a question if you have any questions. I'm imagining that Kim has done such a beautiful job that there won't be any questions. It's just this receiving. I love to think about this, when we're in this space with a group of women and there's this sharing from the heart there is this beautiful sense of just being able to just receive. And that is our gift to everybody this morning. You're so welcome, Monica. Thank you for a wonderful, amazing start to this revolution. You are so welcome. All right, it looks like there's no questions. For those in the I'm just double checking the chat. Yeah. So for those in the 3Cs community, I will be in there later today with the first steps for you to support you on this journey. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them in there. And yeah, Kim is in the group as well, so she can answer any questions that you have for her. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, and I will see
Love you all.
again tomorrow. Thank you, Kim.
Bye, sweethearts.